It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And let's see, Tim, hello again. How are you? Let's see what's going on behind you. It's Thanksgiving. Okay.
Yeah.
It's looks like an Orthodox Midwest Thanksgiving. No question about it. Is that Kool-Aid behind you, or a picture of Arnold Palmer's? I can't quite make that out. But
I think it's iced tea. I think that's what it
tea.
is. I think it's
Iced
I
tea,
think it's a southern. It's sweet tea. It's a southern.
Right.
Southern
Sure.
Thanksgiving.
No, absolutely. Well, all right. So let's take the gloves off now, Tim. Let's fight. Let's fight for the battle of the Republican Party. I'll start with this proposition. Carrie Lake sucks. Your response?
What can I say? She lost. So she sucked, I guess.
Okay. I mean, if you're going to concede that, I mean, did she have to bring Steve Bannon into a campaign with her? Did she have to tell McCain voters, I don't want your vote? I mean, what? This is a woman who not only doubles down, she quadruples down. She's
well,
playing...
I don't know how fair of an election it was with her opponent running the election in a state that already had suspicious things.
Now there you go. There you go.
Ago.
I was looking for that. I think Trump. How much has Trump mentioned that? I think he gave her a nod about it. She is an attractive woman, especially with the gauzy, the cheesecloth in front of her, as provided by her husband, the photographer. But what's interesting, what happened in Arizona was, and our pal Fincham lost as well. So he lost for, but the treasurer's race was won. So if you think they were going to rig this, they would have wiped all the Republicans out, but they didn't.
Well, no, but that for me. If you look at the treasurer got more votes than the governor or the senator or more votes than anybody.
So I mean, so you're still in the conspiracy theory right here.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't?
No,
find
not at all.
Like I want Katie Hobbs for governor, but boy, that Republican treasurer down ballot. In the pages that most people don't even go to when they're in a voting booth.
What made sense was that anybody who said that the election had been stolen in 2020 was a target, and independents didn't want them, and Republicans even. I think there was a race in Washington. I want to say it's the 3rd congressional district, where there was a Senate candidate who didn't give Patty Murray that much of a battle on the Republican side, but the Trumpian candidate for Congress just got wiped out, and it happened all over the place. You can believe all you want in question the voting whether the election was on the up and up, even though even a member of your own family, your sister, doesn't even believe the same thing. But the problem is that every one of those candidates, Bolduc and whatever his name is in New Hampshire, he actually tried to tamp down the election denying, but he was still stuck with it. He lost, and it just wasn't the Democrats actually made hay on the whole democracy thing when they shouldn't have been able to. And if we don't even recognize that, then we're in a lot of trouble, aren't we? Because we're going to be condemned to make the same mistakes. You could even have that belief, but you better zip it.
So
what can I say?
So you think that people who were promising to investigate the 2020 election, the fact that none of them got elected in places where election fraud was suspected in 2020, and you think that's just the general public saying, we don't want anybody questioning.
Now, I got to tell you, you're really on the fringe here, because even the losing candidates aren't saying that right now. But okay, now Carrie Lake. This was a slam dunk. I mean, Doug Ducey.
She's not saying what? Are you saying that Carrie Lake isn't saying that the election was rigged against her? That's not what I've heard.
What did she say? She questioning.
Said the election was BS.
What do you mean it was? What do you mean it was BS? Isn't that the same thing as rigged?
Yeah, she said it. Yeah, but after the election, you said. Didn't you just say that even people who thought the election was rigged are
the exception. She's the exception to that. No, she's maintaining that. I mean, Doug Ducey was a popular governor. This should have been easy, and her opponent did nothing. Her opponent didn't even debate. Her opponent was a blank slate, it was. Oh, by the way, remember last week when I thought I was going to be clever and said, well, where were the Democrats in Wisconsin to stop Ron Johnson? And you said, well, they didn't have the ballot with the mailbox ballots. They didn't have those anymore. And it took me a whole commercial break and everything to come back with the great rejoinder. Well, the jerk store called and they ran out of you. But I've got something a little more substantive on that. So there's this conservative group called the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. They're the ones who actually got the Supreme Court of Wisconsin to get rid of those drop boxes. Okay. Mm-hmm. But even they said that the Wisconsin election in 2020 was not rigged. It wasn't. And that's... Okay. That's what the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, a conservative. This wasn't PolitiFact that was doing this. This wasn't Snopes. This is a group. This is a group that relies on an IRS that just hired 87,000 more agents for their not-for-profit status. That's that. Look, There's only one. You can't prove a counterfactual. Is that what I'm running into right now? In any event, even people like Laura Ingraham, I saw one of her monologues, 7-minute monologues, and basically it seems like the attitude is, well, if we can't beat them on the mail-in ballots and the drop boxes and all the relaxed rules regarding voting, let's join them. And let's, have our own get out the vote. Would you agree with that the Republicans should do that instead of relying on people coming to the polls between certain hours on election day and filling out paper ballots?
How far would you get in MMA if you insisted on Marcus of Queensberry rules?
No, I look. I understand. I mean, that was the attraction of Trump, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. No, we don't have to fight and they don't fight with the under the Marcus of Queensberry rules. But these are legal means right now, and unless you're going to roll them back, and I don't see that happening, Republicans should.
We have to start finding Republicans in nursing homes to fill out the ballots for the patients. We need to have people in the inner cities. We have to, if they're paying $10 for a blank ballot, we got to pay 15.
It's competition. That's and we've got to learn how to forge signatures.
No, you don't, because they don't look at them anymore. They only look at them when it's petitioning for governor, apparently, in Michigan.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, all right. We're not going to. It just seems like, it's across the board. It's in race after race after race that the election denying candidate lost a seat that could have been won. I mean, you agree with that, whether you think the election denying is valid or not. Yeah. You do see that, right?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. But of course, your answer is, of course, the conspiracy still lives. And
that's that to me. Just it's like everybody that wanted to turn on Hillary committed suicide. It's
oh, wait a minute. All right. So now we're so Vince Foster did commit suicide, according to you.
Sure.
You think that? Okay.
Sure.
All right.
So
all
did
right.
Who was the guy that was going to testify against them? McDougal, is that right? Susan McDougal.
I was going to think Frankie Pantangelo, but I see. I always have subscribed to the notion that everybody believes in some kind of conspiracy theory. Everybody will believe in something, but on occasion. But I for a while I really wanted to believe that Jussie Smollett was innocent. Well, that his brother was involved in it. That his brother was, and that he had betrayed the hetero creed of his homeland by having an affair with another guy, and so that's why they beat him up. And I wanted to believe that one for a while. I mean, I didn't go out parading, that I believed in that one, but it would have been a fun one had that come true. But this one that a significant number of people believe in is going to doom the Republican Party because you just got to. Well, there's
no reason. There's no reason hanging on to it anymore. I mean, any chance of it, what happened in 2020 being exposed is gone. It's they were by whatever means, whether it was the voters or it was what I suspect. There's no chance that anyone's going to open that box. It's now closed. It was now the most secure, honest, fair election we ever had in history in 2020, and that's the way. Maybe 30 years from now, a book will be written about what really happened, and people will go, yeah, well, we knew it. Kind of like the Kennedy.
Look, I'm still waiting to find out that Ted Cruz's father killed JFK. So, all right. On that note, Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And Tim, I confess, I did not watch Trump's announcement. Did you?
No. It was the biggest surprise announcement since Adam Lambert admitted he was gay.
Oh, really? Is he? Of course, we're not alone. Even Fox didn't watch it. I mean, they bailed out of it after a while and went to a Hannity panel. And just about as a matter of fact, we could have had an exclusive because everybody was bailing out of it. I think maybe News Nation was the only one that kept going on it. And of course, they're basically a glorified podcast. So, yeah,
it wasn't live streamed on Truth Social. That would surprise me.
Oh, I'm wondering, but and then of course he tried to low key it apparently, and I love this. I'm admitting I didn't even see it. I'm not even sure I actually saw any of the clips, but I can intuit all this stuff.
Sure.
Well, I mean, why? Hey, my time is valuable. I want to talk about
why investigate a story you're reporting on. That's so unjournalistic.
It's all just, I'm not a reporter. It's all just our impressions, and and everybody's impressions are formed by other people's impressions. Nobody looks at these things directly. I mean, isn't that the Catholic Church teaching? You shouldn't even read the Bible.
Originally, yeah, they said that you're supposed to have a Bible in your home, but never open
it because you'll misinterpret it.
Exactly. And then some words are so holy that they're written in red, and those are extremely no. You never read. Only the person who's been ordained has the right to read those words.
No, that's the opposite of my religion, which is you're supposed to study all the time. Although I think somebody once said you really aren't ready to study until you're about 40 years old anyway. But and maybe that's nobody should be allowed to vote until he is 40 years old. But yeah,
it's allowed now. Catholics, you can open the Bible now. You can the right one. Don't go opening that other one that where Martin Luther crossed out all the good parts.
Okay. All right. But I mean, are you allowed? Is it? Can you open the King James version, or does it have to be
that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah.
Okay. So I listened to this podcast, the Commentary Magazine podcast, is Jewish intellectuals, neocons, John Podhoretz and his gang. And, I look for, lofty observations. They had gotten down to where they were talking about whose wife is hotter, DeSantis's or Trump's. And, that's not leaving a lot for us if we're not going to be able to.
That it kind of surprised me when I saw his wife walk out in that gold Statue of Liberty dress. I did not expect that guy to have that wife.
DeSantis? DeSantis?
Yes.
Now he's apparently only 5'9.5".
Mm-hmm.
And I just as a benchmark, I believe the average Civil War soldier was about 5'4". I mean, I could have taken the South by myself. We forget how little people were many, many years ago. But DeSantis is not that tall. He'd be one of our shortest presidents. In a long time.
I'm gonna say right now, we will never have. Here's my prediction.
Yeah,
we will never have a President DeSantis.
Why?
Yeah. He's not. He doesn't have it. He does not have the television magnetism.
Really?
I mean, he should. I think he should. I mean, his policies have been great. He's been, he's delivered what he's promised. He fought, the fascism of the pandemic. He did everything right. Yeah. But on the camera, he looks a little Dukakis-y.
It's funny that you mentioned that because Dukakis also was a short guy, so maybe DeSantis for sure will not be putting a pith helmet on his head and riding in a tank. Because I
don't remember ever seeing Kitty. Usually Kitty was usually at home having a final net martini, I think.
Well, it's interesting. Well, I don't know. Here DeSantis won in Florida, and big. He was the big Republican winner.
Sure.
And
you know why? Because he developed a board specifically to target election fraud. And he started prosecuting election fraud. And
the Florida, I mean, thanks to Jeb Bush, please clap. Is that a picture of his wife? Are you kidding me?
Look at that. Yeah, it's what I mean. Like, you kidding? Her neck is longer than he is tall.
Yeah, I mean, really. She could be the number one asset on the campaign trail, as long as she doesn't plagiarize Michelle Obama's speeches like Melania did. I would like a debate between Melania and Kitty DeSantis or whatever her name is, Olympia DeSantis. It's just. But getting back to Trump, he was low key, and now he's been criticized for it. So that's the end of being low key. He can't stay low key for very long.
What's obviously though, what's interesting is he's obviously listening to advisors, which is something I don't think he's ever done in the past.
Right, but how long will he listen to the advisors? And he's actually caught in a trap right now because, as we mentioned last segment, I think we agreed it's going to hurt if you keep going with the election denying stuff, and that's what his peeps love, is that he's outraged that they were out to get him. Look, I saw a tweet from Marianne Murciano. You don't even know who she is.
Not a clue.
I used to work with her on a show called Fox Thing in the Morning on Channel 32. Her husband's Bob Surratt. Okay. And I like him and I like her. And I have not seen her on Twitter in ages. But when Trump made his speech, she had to tweet, "Here's the reckless, delusional guy." And that was enough to make me feel like, okay, I'm going to vote for Trump again. You know how we react to this stuff. It's like, don't tell me, liberals don't tell us who to vote for. And if we might get rid of them otherwise. But as soon as the liberals gang up on him, and that's what he's looking for, but the only way he can really get the liberals to gang up on him is if he keeps going with the whole election denying motif.
Well, look how it was like 5 minutes after Hillary said just a basket of deplorables. They were printing up T-shirts. I'm a deplorable.
Yeah, totally. No, I get that. But the thing is that, but his issue is the election denying, and that is a loser issue for me. It might catapult him to the nomination, given a crowded field, if there is one, but it's a loser in the general election. And, he's got the substantive issues, which he mentioned in a low key way. I mean, we got inflation, we got all these kinds of problems. And when he was president, he actually presided over relative prosperity. And there were, he deregulated the economy, and it did, and we had energy
fixed the Supreme Court,
fixed
the Supreme Court,
back to the Supreme Court like we wanted it, and then. But, when he talks about that stuff, that's the dry, boring stuff that doesn't resonate. It's fine with me. And if he talked like that all the time, I wouldn't have any problems, having him run again. But I think he's absolute poison now. Now, as a matter of fact, somebody was mentioning that if he became president, he would be the first president to serve 2 non-successive terms, since the only other one we've ever had, which is Grover Cleveland. What I really would like is, whose wife is hotter, Grover Cleveland's or Donald Trump's? I mean, and for her time, Frances Folsom, you would agree, was quite hot. Would you not?
I have no idea what
you have never seen Frances Folsom. Okay,
it's Frances Wholesome sounds like a porno name, actually.
It's in the prison.
Frances Wholesome in The Babysitter Stayed Late.
So, and there's a picture for those of you who can see this. I mean, pretty good for 18.
Pretty wholesome.
88. I mean, as long as her face isn't pockmarked with rickets scars or whatever. I mean. So, and by the way, if we ever really need to fill time, I can recite for you all the presidents in order.
Without singing?
Without singing.
But there's a song that goes along with that. I think
there is a song about the presidents.
Yeah, you could do cheating. All the presidents in a song.
I never heard that one. But I can actually do that.
In order, proper order.
In order, because when I was growing up, my mother put up a poster in my room of the presidents in order, and it started like with Washington in the lower right hand corner. It went to the left to like Andrew Jackson, then up to like Franklin Pierce, and then right all the way to Teddy Roosevelt, and then down to, at that point, I think. I don't even think. I think Lyndon Johnson was the president at the time. But
sure,
so
because by the time of Nixon, there was a Farrah Fawcett poster there.
Exactly. The tough one, though, for you youngsters out there is who's the tweener between the Grover Cleveland terms. And it happens to be Benjamin Harrison, which you can remember because he's weird, just like his relative William Henry Harrison was weird because he died a month after taking office. That's the only way I'm able to.
It's either, that's kind of interesting. So both tween presidents have some sort of ailment.
Well, look, I mean, this is how these are the devices I use to remember things in lieu of Prevagen. Bruce Wolf and sorry, go ahead.
No, was Grover Cleveland on the poster twice, or did
he was on the poster twice? Huh? Yes. Okay. Oh yeah. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
I mean, meantime, U.S. prosecutors are considering a criminal probe into FTX and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried's access of customer funds. Let's bring in former U.S. Attorney Guy Lewis. It's great to see you, Guy, and there are a lot of questions swirling around the leader of this company and also what exactly happened here. So before we get to some of the connections and some of the donations that he was making, let's just talk about this generally speaking. He used his research and trading arm essentially to borrow billions of dollars in funds and over leveraged. I mean, that's what happened here, correct?
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. And yeah, I confess, Tim, when I was seeing FTX, I kept thinking it was like the X-rated version of FTD Florist. I was so out of it. I have no idea. I mean, I'd heard about cryptocurrency and, and I'm so conservative about anything that, thank goodness I let that one go right by.
I thought it was an overnight delivery service.
Yeah. There you go.
That's where I was too.
Delivers you right to Palookaville, apparently. And now what I love is these celebrities are getting sued because they were endorsing it. Like, I think Tom Brady is actually going to have to play in the NFL forever now just to make up for the trillions that he's cost people.
Is this the one? This is the one that had the commercial right during the Super Bowl where it was good ideas and people turned down good ideas. Is that correct?
I think so. I mean, and when you advertise in the Super Bowl, I mean, you're advertising to John Q's six pack, or I conflated a couple of names there, but the
advertising in the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody actually got a return on investment. All it does, it's just a what can I say kind of match. It's a measuring contest. It's a way
I think
to show off to other businesses.
People relied on Tom Brady. I mean, I don't think, I think there's got to be a lot of legal obstacles to
he relied on Tom Brady to inflate their portfolio.
On Tom Brady for your investments. But yeah, Larry David was in the commercial, and you know what? I mean, there's a little Schadenfreude there, there with regard to Larry David, because he's always the cooler than thou guy, and he was involved in a piece of garbage. So I like that. I mean, well, because I can't stand the guy because it's enough that he had the success with Seinfeld, but then to have a second success with Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's just a little too much for me.
Which is kind of the success he had with Curb Your Enthusiasm was always funny to me because they wouldn't let him play himself in the Seinfeld series.
Right.
So after Seinfeld was canceled, he went on with essentially the Seinfeld series with him playing himself.
Totally. And I mean, and it's worked. It's worked. But I'm kind of glad to see that he's on the wrong side of history regarding this one. The guy who's the head of and of course the Democrats are all in a tizzy because a lot of money was being directed to Democratic groups. And you always think it's the Scrooge McDucks of the world, and the cheaters and the Mr. Potters are all Republicans, country clubbers.
Well,
and
I have breaking news here for you, Bruce. Is 6 Republicans are just been found to have taken donations from FTX.
Oh,
and they were 6 of the Republicans who voted for impeachment.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
So you think that their votes were bought? Okay. So we'll have an investigation on that.
No, I'm not saying that their votes were bought. I'm just saying that they were the kind of Republicans that would caucus with Democrats.
They were
there's other terms we can call Republicans like that, but
they're post crypto Nazis or something. But I liked that this guy it was the head of FTX. You knew something was wrong. He said he didn't like books because those are like blog posts that go too long. And I know the feeling. and he was playing video games in board meetings and everything.
That kind of sounds like something Larry David would say, doesn't it?
Right. No, right. I totally understand it. I mean, if you can't say it in a tweet or at most a tweet thread, Yeah, I don't have time for this stuff. For these, these.
Jack Dorsey gave you another 140 characters. Dang it, that's just
sure.
that's more than you need.
When Jack Dorsey doubled it from 140 characters to 280, I mean, I was in heaven, and that's enough. You don't really need, Dickens, when he was writing for people who didn't have televisions or radios or anything. They couldn't listen to serials on the radio, like we did in the 30s. And what did they have? They had Dickens, who serialized almost all of his books, right?
Well, you'd have to imagine the thickness of those books.
Yeah, they didn't
imagine writing one of those books.
Yeah,
with a feather that you'd have to keep dipping every word.
Yeah, I mean, you'd get carpal tunnel syndrome. You'd have a workers' comp case right off the bat because you couldn't. Yeah, you had to write in installments. But I think there's a story. It may be apocryphal, or it may have happened at an apothecary. I don't know, but Dickens is he's in line to get some drugs, I guess, and somebody in front of him is buying the latest installment of whatever Dickens book it is. And the guy says, I'm wondering how this is going to turn out. And Dickens himself is saying, I don't know how this is. I don't know. I'm stuck. I got writer's block. Give me the drugs. So I'm with the FTDX guy. I'm not wanting to read that much, but I do get a kick out of the fact that the Democrats are going to be victimized, and some big, Democratic groups that like to annoy us are going to be out of money. So,
well, no, is this just the tinfoil channel I'm tuning into? But I understand that FTX was being used to launder money from Ukraine, so that essentially it was going from Congress to the Ukraine through FTX to campaign funds. That's
well, I'll try to follow that trail. Speaking of Ukraine, here's another subject that we are. I mean, for two guys who basically vote the same, we don't really agree on all that much. Okay, so Ukraine. I read this article. All we have to do is send about 100 F-16s, aircraft that we don't even use anymore, without risk to a single U.S. soldier, to really help the Ukraine cause. Are you for that or against that?
How many? How many?
We don't even use them. 100 F-16s.
100. Okay, yeah. Or we could parachute 100 pilots into Afghanistan. Just take those.
Right, that wouldn't be a bad idea. But anyway,
you know what I thought we should do with Afghanistan? We have time for this. Here's what I think we should have done for Afghanistan. We should have told Americans that anything they can find in Afghanistan, if they can get it back to America, they can keep it.
Oh, that's so really, yeah. That would.
So if you can get a howitzer out of Afghanistan,
sure.
If you can get a surface-to-air missile out of Afghanistan, you can keep it in your backyard.
Now, you're allowed. Are you allowed to deploy it? There. Are you allowed to use it?
Well, no, but you could have it. You have it. Just put it up in your put the missile battery in your backyard in Naperville and make the neighbors jealous.
Yeah, I mean that. I remember the first economics course I took in college. The professor said, "See, there's certain things that we have to spend as a country. Like everybody can't have a Polaris submarine in their backyard." So that was the language of economics 101. There, we actually had to pool our resources for that. You couldn't privatize everything.
Yeah, but the Science and Industry Museum could have a Nazi submarine in their backyard.
Oh, because were you ever on the U-505? Did you ever go?
Oh yeah, I've been inside. Oh man, it still smells bad. I can't imagine what 160 Germans and diesel fumes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Smelled like it its day, because you can still smell them all.
Oh yeah, no, that was a trip. Oh, well, let's see. What other museums did you go to, Tim? Did you go to the Field Museum? Did you?
I've actually never been to the Field Museum.
Wow. You never saw Sue, the T-Rex?
You know, that Sue story kind of irritates me.
Well, being the conspiracy theorist that you are, I'm sure you think it's a fake. It's not a real. It's genuine. Okay.
No, an what is it? A paleontologist? Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Said, ask this guy. They say, "Can I look for fossils in your on your property?" And the guy goes, "Sure." And she finds Sue, the most complete T-Rex ever.
Right.
And she's packing it up, and the guy goes, "This is my property." And she goes, "Yeah, but I found it." And then so two of them go to court. Federal government comes in and goes, "Hey, guess what? You're both wrong."
Right.
It's ours.
Right.
And then the federal government seized it. Both the plaintiff and defendant got aced out. And then
didn't they get any compensation whatsoever,
nothing,
like a digging fee or
something?
Nothing.
They didn't even get court costs. And then so the federal government then sold it to Chicago for a couple million. So I kind of I've been boycotting the field ever since.
Yeah, you'd think they would have given the person who found it like naming rights or at least or a plaque. Well, I'm sure I bet you there's a plaque.
She might have been named Sue. They might have named it after her, kind of.
Really,
which is kind of rubbing salt in the. I don't know who Sue actually was. But.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's see. Let's see if we're trying to exhaust all the. Have you ever been to the Louvre? I mean, museums. I'm just going museums.
In Paris?
Yeah, the Louvre, or Michael Jordan called it the Luge.
Yeah.
And you surround the Mona Lisa, which is basically the size of a postage stamp, and it reminded me of a Micah press conference with all the cameras around it and everything. Coach, I have a question. Are you smiling, Mona Lisa? Anyway, all right. Well, we've exhausted that. The conversation has really devolved today. Maybe we'll rally. It's fine with me. It's fine with me. In the final segment, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
But before I start tonight, I just wanted to read a brief statement that I prepared. I denounce anti-Semitism in all its forms. And I stand with my friends in the Jewish community. And that, Kanye, is how you buy yourself some time. I gotta tell you guys, I've probably been doing this 35 years now. And early in my career, I learned that there are two words in the English language that you should never say together in sequence. And those words are the and Jews. I've never heard someone do good after they said that.
This was Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And Tim, I got to confess, just like I didn't watch the Trump announcement, I didn't watch. I'm thinking of changing the name of this podcast to the Ignorance is Bliss podcast. But I understand you did watch the Chapelle.
I watched the entire thing. I knew that you probably weren't going to. So,
I did see snippets of it. So for some reason, I didn't want to watch it. Chapelle rankles me for some reason. I think he's, huh?
I think I get it.
What? Please explain to me my own feelings about that. Why does he rankle me?
No, I just know that there's comics that rankled me that I can't watch.
So did you think? So did you think it was anti-Semitic?
I don't think so. I think it's. I thought it was. He kept throwing in these little digs. I mean, he came out. First of all, he says that the and Jews should never be in a sentence together.
Yeah,
right. and that.
But that's not anti-Semitic. That's actually
no. But then he'll talk for a while. And then all of a sudden he said, "I spent a lot of time in Hollywood," and one thing I noticed. There are a lot of Jews.
Yeah. But I know that he followed that up by saying, but there's a lot of blacks in Ferguson and they don't run anything.
Right.
So,
right. And then a little while later, he says, when it's when they're black, it's called a gang. When it's Italian, it's called the mob. When it's Jews, we shouldn't talk about that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And that did bother me because you're really not allowed to call blacks a gang or the Italians a mob either. I mean, that's
true. That is true.
So, his premise, and that's one of the things that rankles me, because you start agreeing with the premise, and before you know it, you're trapped by the punchline. And no. Let's roll that back, Mr. Chapelle. Well, let's go back here, and then you're not really.
We're not even allowed to use the word thug anymore. If I'm not mistaken.
No, not at all. I mean, Dan Roan had to apologize for that, for saying thug, because Dan's old school. So Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League said, "We shouldn't expect Dave Chappelle to serve the society's moral compass, but disturbing to see SNL not just normalize but popularize anti-Semitism. Why are Jewish sensitivities denied or diminished at almost every turn? Why does our trauma trigger applause?" Well, I mean, that's a general. I mean, you have to go into specifics. It doesn't. I don't
think he watched the monologue either.
No, I mean, it's just like, that's like hit the anti-Chappelle screed key on his computer. So anyway,
if he didn't offend one group, I think a lot of people went into there expecting to be offended. Chappelle is, they've been trying to cancel Chappelle for a while.
I know. I mean, that's like the old Rickles thing. I love everybody. That would be funny if Chappelle actually tried to be Borscht Belty like Don Rickles. All right, let's move on to something really important. Did you see the guy who somehow managed to slither a rope up or down his penis into his bladder? A rope. I mean, you talk about putting the Indian rope trick to shame. Did you? I mean,
I was just looking at this article.
Yeah.
It's like, we should talk about I guess it was a jump rope. I think it was a plastic jump rope.
Oh, wow.
And he got,
I mean, what did he get bored with, playing, with his friend standing on the corner, chewing a piece of gum? You know what? That's boring. I mean, I know Mike Tyson would work out with a jump rope for 45 minutes a day and get in preparation for a bout. But I guess you get tired after a while and you just say, why don't I just stick this up my penis? I mean,
I don't know if it was, I don't know. Now, was it a single person jump rope? Or was it what is it? One of those 3-person jump ropes?
Well,
because
I think he is now if
he looks like at least he took the handles off.
He took or
at least in the artist's depiction.
I'm trying to think of a joke here with the jump rope and the penis saying, being well hung or something. But I we'll have to workshop that one.
Because if it was
Chappelle would make it funny.
If it was a 2-person jump rope or a 3-person jump rope, that would actually make sense why he might put one end. Because that way you could eat a sandwich and have a Coca-Cola while you're playing jump rope with your 2 friends.
There you go. Exactly. Oh God. So we still have more show to do. I wanted to end on that one because I thought it was really good. Did you see that Target is closing a number of stores because of all things crime? And I got to tell you, that's awful that people would, come in and steal things from Target, because everything is a steal at Target. I've got a pair of jeans. I got 2 pairs of jeans. They're called Goodfellows. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I couldn't believe them. I think they were like $9 a piece. I think they even came with the little Chinese worker, from the sweatshop, would, here, let me help you try it on. No, I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was inspected by 2. Oh, you mean the inspector number 2? No, that's his first name.
No, but seriously, these jeans, I mean, I thought, they're going to fall off of me or something. They're going to unravel. They're fine. And they're so cheap. And they're called Goodfellows. And I just, So why would anybody have to go into Target and steal anything?
So you've got to bring a big cart if you want to take $950 from Target. If you want to,
right? Exactly. Right. Yeah.
I've often wondered about that in Chicago. Have I mentioned this before? Is that, you can take $950 and you won't be prosecuted out of the store. That's as long as it's under $1,000, you're okay. So, is that the regular price or is that the sale price?
Okay.
Does that mean that like at Kohl's you can take $1,600 worth of merchandise out of the store because it's really only going to sell for
boy
under
did you
1,000?
miss your calling? You should have been a lawyer. I mean, because these are the kinds of. Oh my! And I used
Your Honor, my defendant is innocent because he didn't realize it was on the regular price.
Yeah, totally. No, that's people have gotten. Barry Scheck got OJ off for less than that. And speaking of stores that are closing, so this Whole Foods, which they announced earlier, like in April, it was going to close, but it was, on the South Side. They were given tax breaks and everything, and they're closed. The Englewood location closing, and obviously they couldn't make it there. Okay, so, but I remember.
Well, I could see people going in there saying, "Where are the potato chips?
Sure.
Where are the microwave burritos? Where are your hot pockets?" I mean.
Because there was a University of Chicago, I think the Booth Economic School study that showed that poor people don't want to eat good food. They and they don't want healthy. They want, the high calorie diabetes producing. And you know what? You can understand it because if you're poor, the last thing you're worried about is becoming, what Tom Wolfe called a social X-ray. You're not trying to be.
Well, it goes here. Here's the thing:
a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Yeah,
it goes against the leftist dogma. Is that when you say, how is it that we have the most obese poor population in America, and the response is, well, because when you're poor, you can't afford healthy food.
Sure,
you can only afford the fattening foods, and that's the thing. And the other thing is, and they live in food deserts. They live at places where the only place you can shop for groceries is the liquor store.
And then you supply those areas with the healthy foods, and they don't want it. I mean, you can lead a poor person to Evian, but you can't make them
drink the almond milk.
Yeah. So it's no, and of course I love this because these sports radio guys in Chicago, this guy Danny Parkins, had one of these drives where they wanted to get food, healthy food, fruits and vegetables and stuff like that for an inner city area. And I was just wondering how that, and they had like a radiothon for it. I think a couple of years or so ago. I'm just wondering how it turned out. Because ultimately, I mean, is it like Whole Foods turned out? Because there usually isn't a lot of follow-up on this kind of thing. You do the thing for what you think is it's, and what the problem is that, and the liberals then pat themselves on the back and say, well, we had the good intentions. But you see, I don't think pity is a good intention. Pity, what is pity all about? It's like the Palestinians. Everybody pities them because pity isn't about really feeling for somebody else. It's about making yourself feel so good about what you're doing and not actually doing anything for anybody. And
you've got to be at a higher position if you want to experience pity.
Right.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I finally made one. Election denying scum. All right, Tim, happy Thanksgiving.
Back to you, Bruce.
Tim Slagle on The Weekly Wrap.
And that's The Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production. Copyright 2022.